Hillary, what's the latest you're seeing?
Well, the latest at this point, Hannah, of course, is that security officials on both sides of the border are trying to understand, of course, what happened and why it happened. More importantly, what the intention was here. So certainly what we've been hearing coming from our colleagues, David Cochran and Katie Simpson as well, who has been speaking with sources, both of them saying that when this first was came in and both Canadian officials were alerted to this, that they were operating under this assumption that it might be intentional. Yes, of course, we even know this from the FBI field office in Buffalo, that they are investigating this along with terrorism investigators. That does not necessarily mean, though, that this is an act of terrorism, just to be very clear here, that they are still trying to understand why this happened. Part of the reason why officials are saying that it could take some time is because of the state of that vehicle, that it has been burned. And of course, we know the 2 people inside are dead. That has been confirmed from officials now through sourcing, who our colleagues, of course, have been speaking with. So 2 people have died. Now, in terms of the current situation, we do know that those 4 international crossings are closed. You were going through them there, Hannah, of course. I do believe we have a map that we can bring up once again. Of course, the Rainbow Bridge is what we're so focused on. We know that that is closed, and we know some of those other crossings are as well. The Ambassador Bridge, though, that connects Windsor, Ontario with Detroit, that is still open at this point. I do want to bring you now, though, an eyewitness. So this is a Canadian resident who was on the U.S. side of Niagara Falls, who spoke a little bit about what they saw. So here's a little bit of what we're hearing from that Canadian resident.
So we were walking up the road, and we seen this car coming down towards the border, and he was flying over 100 miles an hour. There was a car in front of him. He swerved out, went in front of the car, hit the fence, went flying up into the air. He hit, I think there was a elevation part. He went up into the air, and we just seen the fireball, and that's all we could see. It was just covered in smoke everywhere.
So the car was coming from the U.S. into Canada, towards Canada?
Yes, it was going towards Canada, yes. Looked like it hit part of the fence because it's all damaged, and then it went elevated up, and then it went up into the air, and then it was just a fireball and smoke everywhere. I've never seen anything like this. It was just incredible. The fire was so high up in the air.
So that's what we heard there from that Canadian resident who had been visiting the American side, the U.S. side of Niagara Falls. A couple things there that he spoke about, Hannah, that I think are good to pick up on. First of all, he talked about there being fire, some sort of explosion. And we do know that the FBI field office in Buffalo, when they put out a statement on X, of course, formerly known as Twitter, they spoke about the fact that there was a vehicle explosion, but we don't for sure know what that means, of course, at this point, in terms of what they mean when they talk about an explosion. If there was something inside the vehicle or not. We do not know that at this point. That eyewitness also spoke about seeing a vehicle moving from the U.S. towards Canada, and certainly what our colleagues have been hearing from their sources is that Canadian officials believe strongly that this originated on the U.S. side of the border. There has been some conflicting information on that, but that is what our colleagues at this point are hearing. Just finally, of course, for people who live in this area who are going to be impacted by this, you were reporting some of what the producer on the ground was talking about. Of course, we don't know how long that border crossing of the Rainbow Bridge might be closed, the impact that that's going to have on cross-border activity and traffic. But we do know from local police in Niagara Falls and also the OPP telling people to be prepared that there are going to be major traffic disruptions, not just around those crossings, but possibly backing up into cities and towns on some of those city streets as well. We know that Highway 405 is closed. Just one final note here, Hannah, the U.S. FAA has also come out and said that that Buffalo airport is closed to all arriving and departing international flights at this point. So lots to be monitoring here, lots of unanswered questions still looking for details on. But at this point, that's the latest on what we know.
Okay, Hillary, jump back in when you get some more. Appreciate all your work. Hillary Johnstone in Ottawa.